There it goes. Let's see. And within the first 2 seconds. Alright, now how do I pull the chat up? Well, one day I'm going to have this down. And, like, I'm just going to have everything.
The shadow? What are you
ready.
talking about?
I'm going to have everything ready to go.
This is not, we're not filming yet?
I believe we are. See, it says live.
Does it?
I just can't see the chat yet.
Well, there is no chat. We just started.
Yeah, but usually.
And no one gives a fuck enough to like pre-watch our shit. So. Like, there's nobody out there camping out like, when are they gonna go live? Oh my god, the countdown is up.
What's up, everybody?
We're not
In case anybody is out there like that, what's up, everybody?
What's up?
And we're
What's
back
up?
again
Back at it, like crack addicts.
with the interactive podcast. I don't know how this turned into an interactive podcast, but I kind of like it.
It's working so far. We're giving it a shot.
I kind of dig being able to interact with the
We
chat.
want to make a bunch of skits and do different shit, but man, that's pretty fucking hard. It's really just hard to have the time. It's hard to have the time to do that, man. I got a real life. I got a job. It's full. It's a full job, like a whole, like do it all the time kind of job.
I can pull it up.
And I hate it.
Oh.
I hate it because it just takes all my time up. I can't. I don't really hate my job, but I just hate that it takes all my time.
That we just can't do this.
Yeah, it eats up all my free time. I get like just a little bit of time one day a week to do this. And yeah, shit's tough. Shit is tough. Oh, somebody's watching. Is it you? Is it you? This is like sucking our own dick on film. You're watching us.
Well, I was sharing it out, man. I was sharing it out.
Whatever.
Okay.
That's
All
fine.
right.
That's fine.
Okay. Can I do that?
You can do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not against it.
All right. There is somebody else that liked it besides me.
Just making a joke. That's all.
No, it was.
It's always an appropriate time to make a sucking your own dick joke.
It was. I mean, pretty true because you already knew what I was doing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was just making a joke. We live in a suck your own dick time. We have a suck your own dick administration. They suck their own dicks constantly. Even the press is on it. That shit was so funny. We were watching that Zelensky thing earlier, and that it was like some press was like, you know, how will you help with this going on in Ukrainian area? And then the other half of the press was like, Mr. Trump, in all your excellence and in all your grace, how do you see yourself as the peacemaker? Are you just the peacemaker president?
There we go.
It was so funny.
I was waiting for that to happen.
What is this?
That's now we can see the chat. You see that?
Oh, okay.
Now.
Took a minute. So we've been streaming since before that, though.
Yeah, we're still.
What a setup!
We're still going. With
That's on a delay. Is that on the same delay that your phone is on, basically? Probably, because I think that just started.
It is.
Like that started where we started.
So now we can see the chat.
Yeah. Visibility, baby. Yeah, you can half-ass see the chat.
No, you can still see it.
Oh God, what have you done?
It's still here. This is where we need two screens. That's,
I mean, even with two screens, we got two screens on the one screen. So if you two screen it, that shit's gonna get small. Then you're gonna have one screen with one screen and another screen with two screens.
How was your week, man? I mean, we wanted to start out
fucking long.
You
fucking
you started
long
out
week,
pretty
man.
offensive.
I usually do. I try to get it all out of the way up front. No, man, I've just been working. I worked all week. I got a Monday through Friday, and I go in at 7:30 in the morning, and then I kind of just get off whenever. And here lately, it's been in like the 5-6 o'clock range. So I got some hours this week. But God, yeah, it made for a really long week.
Didn't Trump just pass something with no taxes on overtime or tips?
I honestly haven't heard that. Did he?
I believe so. Should we like go ahead and fact check ourselves?
I guess so. I mean, that's a pretty big one. If you're gonna say that,
if I'm gonna say that, I should.
You should look that one up because I haven't heard that.
One day I'm gonna stop messing with this mic.
And also, like, how immediate does shit like that take place? Probably not very. Like, I doubt that's gonna matter on my next paycheck, is it? Be some shit for like a year from now, or at least a few months from now, something like that.
All right, Forbes.com. Do you trust Forbes? Can we go with Forbes?
I guess with what we're asking, yeah, I guess I could trust him for
All
that.
right, we could go with Forbes.
Yeah,
All right, let's see what Forbes has to say.
because I mean, it is financial advice type information. I figured they would be on it.
House Republicans. So the House Republicans
Mm.
in the razor-thin 217-215 vote on Tuesday, they passed a budget resolution that promises massive tax cuts, but only if they can find $2 trillion in spending reductions to offset the cost.
Jesus, that's a big fucking flip flop. If they could find what, $2 trillion?
Yeah.
Bro, we haven't even found, like, they keep backtracking and fact checking all of Elon's findings, and that shit's done went from like 40 billion down to like 6 or 20 or something.
I think we've already agreed that it's kind of hard to.
It's hard to really
fact check
get a true
any of
number
it.
on
Yeah.
any of that shit. Yeah, but I mean, I know $2 trillion. Like, God Almighty, I don't know what you're gonna cut or budget correctly to
Anyways.
find $2 trillion.
It's either passed or they're working on it.
I got you, right? But
So,
from the sound of it, you said it's not gonna pass unless they get $2 trillion out of a dragon's asshole. I mean, really, where are you pulling that money from?
government efficiency, Doge.
That's just a shit ton. I just don't know how you get like $2 trillion. $2 trillion.
$2 trillion.
We don't talk in the T's very much when we talk about money. Usually, even when you're talking about national spending, you know, you're in the B's, you're in or the hundreds of M's. You're not in the fucking T's. That's why it's such a small first number. 2 doesn't sound bad. 2's not that many. 2 trillion. Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. 2 trillion's a lot. 2 trillion's a fucking lot. That's like a lot. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions. Like, that's a lot.
It is. So, other than work, what else did you do?
Let me think, man. See, my work is draining. It really is. So I come home, and I'm usually pretty ass beat most of the time. And I've got a wife, and we've got a kid who's here with us every other week. And she, you know, if she's here, we're pretty busy. We got shit to do pretty much all the time. But this week, she really hasn't been here. This is her week to be at her dad's. So we've had some free time. And when you live a lifestyle like that, when you have free time, all it means is that you fucking sleep. It just means you have time to take a nap all of a sudden.
You sleep or take care of chores that you
Or
gotta catch
do
up
chores that you really have to catch up on so that you can end up doing shit like this one day a week. Yeah, exactly.
Whoa, you ain't gotta say shit like this.
Things
I
of this
enjoy.
nature.
I enjoy doing this. Do you not enjoy doing
I
this?
enjoy doing this. That's why I was
No.
doing laundry when I came home from work the other fucking day.
Oh, okay.
Instead of waiting for the day to do it.
I was just making sure. I mean, you know,
Came home and made that sacrifice. Like, that's how it feels when you work and bust your ass, and then you come home and you do something like make dinner or do laundry, wash the fucking dishes. You do anything, you're just like, nobody appreciates the sacrifices I'm putting forth here, man. Let me tell you, son of a bitch. But it's so you can have some amount of time at some point in that 1 or 2 days off you get where you might, I don't know, get to do something you want to do.
because a lot of times we really only mean to get on here for like 30 minutes or so, but we end up on here for 2 or 3 hours.
We'd be dragging
4
it
hours.
out. Yeah, man. Because it's like, once this stops, we got to go back to doing the same shit again. And yeah, we don't want that to stop.
No.
At the same time, I don't want to live on I don't want to do this forever or anything like that. But it would be cool to do this enough to where we don't have to do so much of the other shit.
Like have more time to do like skits and
Yeah. Yeah. If
other kind of things.
I could figure out some way to balance it out where I only work a day or two a week and have a lot more time to plan
So
stuff like this, that'd be great.
I'll be frank with you. I Uber for a living.
Yeah.
So I thought about just doing IRL streaming like on Friday or Saturday nights because I'm between big cities all the time.
Yeah.
So I just go down to the districts and just
You
IRL
make a lot of
stream.
little TikToks and shit like
know
that
what I
too
mean?
while you're working. So I mean, the thought of making just a broadcast out of it and to
So
extreme.
I could be anywhere from the beach to the mountains in any of these big cities, just hanging out with because there's predominantly big schools in our area, with a lot of places. Like, bro, I was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina the other day. I swear to God, I saw like 50 students cross the street at one time.
Oh yeah, that's
I was like, holy
class break.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, even here, we got Averett here, and it gets like that during the day. But I feel you, those bigger college, we're not a college town by any means, but those bigger college towns, dude, yeah, they're populated.
You know, then you got Charlotte and Uptown Charlotte. So, you know, I thought about doing some, starting some Iowa streaming. You know, because I'm a people person. I could go down there and
kind of mingle
and be a people person.
You're of an appropriate age too, to where you could pass as a college student. Even though college students can be any age, like it doesn't matter. You can go to college however old you are. If I walk around a group of college kids, nobody's looking at me like I go to college.
It's funny you say that because my last Uber ride last night was these two ladies I picked up from. It was like this lawyer school convention, but it was at an art gallery in Raleigh.
Okay.
And I had to take them to Durham.
All right. The airport.
No, Durham. They lived
Durham.
in Durham on the other side of Durham.
I got you. And
so they got to talking about lawyer stuff the whole time. So I dropped one lady off, and the other lady lived right around the corner. But you know, I got the story. She used to be a school teacher, and she just went back to college to finish her law degree.
Right.
And she's
living a dream.
No, I was going to say, but I was trying to find a way without being like totally offensive. You know what I'm saying? But she's an older lady. Like she's not like
okay.
She's not like in her
she's
prime.
not a kid. Yeah,
she's not in her prime or anything.
Would you say middle aged? Would you say beyond? Would you say older than middle aged?
I mean, she probably had kids my age.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
Is that pretty?
I would call that middle aged, but I'm old.
Well, I don't.
I think technically I'm middle aged. I'm 40, but I don't feel middle aged. I still feel like I'm 16. My body just hurts.
Wasn't trying to be too offensive, you know what I'm saying?
I feel
she looked good, you know what I mean?
She was an older woman. There's nothing really offensive about that.
Okay, no,
right, she's older than you.
Yeah, she was.
Wrong to say about that.
You know what I'm saying? But she was still a very nice looking lady, and
she didn't
was
look like somebody.
Very knowledgeable.
Just like I said, she didn't look like somebody to you immediately, where you were like, oh, you probably if she told you, well, you found out she was in law school, so that's college, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, well, at first when they got in, I was like, is she a professor?
Right. Yeah.
Or
are you teaching
is she
this shit?
in law school?
Are you a lawyer?
Or
you're in law school.
Is she like intake? You know what I mean? Like
right.
intake for one of these law firms or one of these schools, you know?
That's how it is with your older at school for any fucking
Is she like prospecting students to go to her school? You know what I mean? You know,
like
headhunting.
She's like a headmistress.
Yeah, is she recruiting like students or something? Like I didn't exactly know, but to find out she was a teacher and then went back to school during the pandemic, and she's like 2 months away from finishing her degree. So,
oh shit!
Yeah, it's super dope.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was. It's funny that you kind of leaned into that.
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna say anything about it.
Coincidences.
Yeah, man, I'll be having some dope Uber rides. You know, this week I had to kind of change my area because the area I usually work wasn't, as busy.
Wasn't really popping.
Yeah, so I had to go to the opposite side of the state. And that's just kind of one of the things when you're doing this job full time. You got to follow the crowd. If this area is not going to be busy, you got to be willing to drive.
Well, you got an app at least that kind of tells you that. You could look on that app and it'll tell you where a bunch of people need rides at, so you can go there and give people rides. For the most part,
like it'll tell you in the general area you're working in.
It's more helpful than being a cabbie and being stuck in an area and just being like, well, no fucking business today.
It won't tell you like the opposite side of the state what if it's busy or not.
You got to actually go over there before the radar kind of picks it up.
Yeah, you got to be in that area.
I got you. Got you.
But you got to look it up, and you just got to know where the events are happening, where people are going, and where people are going to be. Well,
you live in a pretty decent area where you're, an hour or so away from pretty big major cities in
2
any
hours
direction.
from all of them.
2 hours from all of them. From every big city that is around you, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a shit ton around you in Virginia and in Carolina. So,
facts.
That's pretty helpful. At least your location isn't hurting anything.
Facts. So, I spent a whole week working in another area I don't usually work.
Is that why you didn't get home until like 5 a.m. or
whatever? Yeah, something like that.
Nice. Something like
well, yeah, because, I
Frank be doing devious shit. Frank's one of those cats from the Aristocrats movie. The Aristocats. He's one of the trash cats that's out there playing music with the trash can lids and shit.
I don't do anything but work, man. Like, I don't have anything else to do. So, you know, I try to drive my whole 12 hours out. And, you know, I ain't gonna lie. You know, if the ride isn't worth taking, guess what?
Not taking it.
I'm not taking it.
No, I feel that.
You know what I mean? So.
Not getting involved in that whole Lyft dispute with the heavy person.
What you mean?
You didn't hear about the heavy person dispute with Lyft?
Yeah, I heard about it. But you know what happened?
No.
I feel like she destroyed her own lawsuit.
I mean, she was really heavy.
She went on Charlemagne, and you know, they had a seat kind of like what we have, like an office chair,
like a normal chair that pretty much every one of their guests ever has sat in, even the much bigger. Like, they've had big people on their show, you know what I'm saying? And this chick needed the couch, bro.
Yeah, they had to accommodate
the couch, and I'm telling you, she sat on the couch, and it looked like she was in a fucking big chair.
They had to accommodate
it's a couch, bro.
They had to accommodate half the couch for her.
Yeah,
you know, so that
she took a lot of room.
And I'm just being frank here. I don't really think that helped her lawsuit at all.
And I mean, she's trying to get into a dude's car, and I get that it's a Lyft and all that shit, and that's a business to you, but that's that dude's car. I mean, you would think you would have a right to pretty much tell anybody you can't get in my car for any reason. It's my fucking car,
bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I had a bigger gentleman slide in my car a couple days ago,
right?
And I felt it.
Yeah,
I could feel it. The weight over that one wheel, like
that was dude's whole argument.
I could feel all that.
Giving bigger people rides, and the car won't take it. And she's like, "No, that's bullshit. This bullshit."
No, the car literally doesn't.
And I mean, if you saw this dude's car, it was very. I mean, it was like one of those. It was like a Subaru. It was like a little hatchback thing, man.
Well, I have a newer car, but it's still. I mean,
it's still pretty small.
It's
not a big car.
I could still feel him like in the back seat over that car, like when I was turning and stuff. Like, I could feel the difference in the vehicle and in my transmission, like because I'm driving it all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you do notice that more when you're a person who drives for a living. Yeah.
There's a difference of having three people that are similar to your build or my build in the back seat than having one person that weighs as much as those three people on one side of the car,
on half the car.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a big difference in that.
And a lot of people even feel it's inappropriate to be told some shit like, "I need you to sit in the middle," you know, like weight. I need you to distribute your weight, kind of thing. Like, people get offended at that, and it's like, bro, you are hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Like, you need to work with everybody. Don't be mad when people ask simple shit of you.
No, it is some people, because I had an Uber rider.
You can be rude about it too. You can be like, "Hey, you fat fuck!" Like, you don't want to. Obviously, there are levels to it, but I mean, that guy that she was arguing with, he was trying his best, man. He was trying to be like...
No, he wasn't. If he was trying his best, he would have just canceled the ride and drove away when he saw
it.
That's
what he should have done, honestly.
That's trying your best.
That's really what he should have done.
That's trying your best.
As far as trying to talk it out, he was trying his best. Because he didn't tell her she was fat. He didn't name call her. He didn't say anything derogatory at all. He was just like, "Look, it's not even you. It's my car. My car will not take your weight."
I mean, did you not hear it sputtering?
Yeah, the whole time she's filming that video, the car's in the background beatboxing like a motherfucker. The whole time. And she's like, "What you mean? My friend got a car just like this. I get in it all the fucking time. It ain't never a problem."
And then she goes on the Breakfast Club and has to have a whole sectional brought over.
Bruh. And you know, those are some savage motherfuckers for the most part. They don't really hold back. And you could clearly see them holding back. All of them. You could clearly see it on their face where they were just like, like they were mouthed the fuck up. Just
it didn't help, but
it didn't help.
You know, I'm just saying
it was one of those areas where just their silence spoke words, really, because they were just all like, "God damn."
There is a line. Because look, you as an Uber driver, you're barely making the money as it is, right? Like I recommend. You know, having like passive income. Like, if you have a passive income and you're just trying to find something to do with your time or like make tax write-offs, I think Uber is like a great little side job or a gig job to do. You know what I mean? But if you have like a W-2 job, it might mess you up in the end if you don't do it enough. You know what I mean?
I get you, because it's basically a part-time gig at that rate, and you're getting taxed differently. You're going to end up paying taxes the whole time for you're working it.
Right. But if you do it the right way,
Yeah, if you
treat
do
it
it
like
as a full time position,
treat it like a
basically.
business,
Yeah.
it's more.
It's a full time job. That's
It
one of
is.
those weird jobs. It's what you make of it. You do it as a part time gig and make a little bit of money here and there. But yeah, no, I know, like you said, I don't think anybody should do it for like 20 hours a week every week, because that's like too much, because you have to claim it, and not enough because it's not enough to claim and make money. So you're fucking yourself if you don't do it full time, or if you don't just do it occasionally. You don't, pick up a weekend a month if you don't want to do it full time.
I'm driving 60, 70 hours a week sometimes.
Yeah, well, you said they only let you work 12 a day, right?
Yeah.
But do they let you do that 7 days a week?
Well, they let you drive 12 a day. So you can be on the app as long as you want, as long as you're not driving.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you could potentially just schedule stops all goddamn day.
Yeah, you could just sit there until you find
Take a
a
30-minute
ride.
break in between every one of them.
Yeah, you could just sit there until you find a ride that
So
you want to take.
your literal drive time has to build up to 12 hours.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So damn, yeah. So the potential is there for you to work 7 days a week nonstop, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And after the 12 hours, you only have to take a 6-hour break. So it just kicks you off the app for 6 hours, and then it just restarts you. It gives you a fresh 12.
Damn. So yeah, if you bust an ass like that, that's, I mean, and it leads to some pretty decent money. You got to put a lot back into your whip.
You got to put a lot back into your
But
car.
I can see most,
and even then, it's still hard.
I can see crazy people doing it, like I said, who have like burner vehicles. If you got a shit box, and you're just driving it to death kind of thing, yeah, you milking the fuck out of that money. You making money.
I did it. I did it to myself, driving the car that I'm driving. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my expenses are a little bit more,
You
so
got
I make
fancy
a little
car,
bit less.
so you got to put money into it to keep it a fancy car.
Yeah, I got to put a little bit more money into it. I mean, I put over 120,000 miles on this car
in a year.
In a
right.
year,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And that's fairly local driving. That's just a shit ton of it.
Well, it's all over one state. Well,
One state.
Two states.
I'll say I kind of half-ass travel for a living too. I got to drive everywhere, so I consider that local. If you're in the same fucking, and I live on the border of 2 states,
Well,
so I
man.
feel like if we're in those 2 states, that's essentially local.
Well, I mean, I could drive anywhere from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina,
And I feel like
or
that's
to,
local.
or to Georgia.
Maybe not. I don't really consider South
can-
Carolina local. Like
I
so
could
as soon as you
drive-
pass beyond North Carolina or go up above Virginia, I definitely consider that out of the fucking region.
I could drive anywhere like close to the Tennessee border, all the way
Yeah.
to New Bern, or what a lot of people know is Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, I could be all over the state of North Carolina or South Carolina in the same day.
Right.
Sometimes I'm all over both states in the same day. You know.
That's me and my job. I'm all through Virginia and North Carolina.
So a lot of people do take these local rides. You know.
Yeah.
It's really just all about what you want to drive. My understanding is I take some of these longer rides a lot of times because it's less wear and tear on your transmission. I'm not in the inner city stopping and going every couple of seconds, and the brakes, you know what I mean? Like, usually I got it on cruise control and I'm just coasting down the freeway,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So that's why I do some of the longer rides. But you get to meet a lot of interesting people doing the job, you know, so it's interesting. It's not like something to do forever, but it's definitely a neat thing to do.
It sounds like it.
So
I like to drive anyway.
The no tips thing would be beneficial for me as well.
The no tax on tips thing.
Yeah, the no tax on tips
I
thing.
got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
that would be pretty dope. Even though let me go ahead and tell you
I don't make tips, but I do make overtime, so that falls into that.
For any of the Uber drivers that may be listening, let me go ahead and tell you that, you know, if your passenger at any point in time tells you, hey, I'm gonna leave you a tip at any point throughout the ride, they're not going to do it.
They're not tipping.
85% of the time, they don't leave
They're
a tip.
just talking shit.
They're just talking. Even if they spill coffee in your car.
I don't tell people I'm going to tip.
Yeah, if they don't.
But I tip everywhere that, it's
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, but like a lot of people have this habit of just like gaslighting you and being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna
drop
leave
you a killer tip.
Yeah,
I got you. I'm looking out for you.
Either as soon as they get in, or like halfway through the ride, or when they're getting out the car, they'll say something like that, and it's like, bro, look, I already know the gig. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this a while. Like, don't be sitting here trying to gaslight me.
Don't you lie to me.
And but some people do it, but a lot of them don't.
Right.
And you could tell. You could tell.
can't really rely on tippers. I learned that. I've worked a lot of jobs that required tips, and
I get some pretty dope ones. And shout out to all the people who do tip. Tip their Uber drivers.
And shout out to all the people who work those jobs.
And I'm not talking about tipping the takeout drive-through, or you know what I mean. Like, I'm talking about the traditional tips, like your taxi cab, which would mean your Uber drivers or your Lyft drivers. You know what I mean?
Like servers too, like
your servers. Yeah, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like somebody just prepared your food for takeout.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. We do have certain places even here, that
or
like,
even because I come through the drive-through.
yeah, there are places that just
Like-
tips are almost you just expect to get tipped. Starbucks, to
Yeah.
name drop one, it's kind of like that. Yeah, you go through the drive-through there and you got to go through all that bullshit where they're like, all right, it's gonna ask you a question.
It's gonna ask a question.
We know it's gonna ask a fucking
we
question. How much
know.
extra money do I want to pay for this coffee for no goddamn reason?
It's
It already cost outrageous, and you're literally putting it together and handing it to me. Like, you want a fucking tip for that?
And I think you signed up for this.
Pretty sure you knew what you were getting paid hourly when you agreed to work here.
Did you not negotiate that?
Shit isn't on me. You got trash negotiating skills.
I think people forget like that's part of negotiations. Like when you go for an interview,
That's a weird place too, because they
interviews-
make decent money there. Like they get paid. I don't know exactly how much, and I'm not trying to. If you work at Starbucks, don't get fucking offended.
oh
but
no! If
I think you make a lot more than minimum wage.
If you're watching this and you work for Starbucks, feel free to drop a comment in there.
Yeah, I mean, tell me how much you get paid.
Throw them your at, Bobby.
Tell me how much you get paid.
Throw your social media out there so they go ahead and kill you for your take there.
I'm
Now,
just saying.
go
Tell
ahead
me how
now.
much you get paid.
Finish your take.
If I'm wrong, I'll definitely admit it. Like if you're making what I was making when I was a server, which is $2.13 an hour, and you're expecting tips, then I will clearly tell you I'm very incorrect, and I apologize for my outburst. But I'm pretty sure everybody at Starbucks is making double digits.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't think there's a position there that starts at less than 10.
I don't know. I've never worked at a coffee.
Now, are there
barista.
higher paying places? Abso-fucking-lutely. But that's, once again, is that your fault because you went there to get a cup of coffee that this person has to work at Starbucks? Nobody has to work anywhere.
All right. So I feel like Bobby's being a little hypocritical here.
Am I? How so?
We go to the coffee shop every week,
We do.
and when we go to pay,
Mm-hmm.
we leave a little dollar or so tip.
I leave, usually at this coffee shop, the screen
Uh-oh.
is the type that throws out 3 options, and I think it's 10, 15, and 20.
You're right.
And it bounces back and forth with me between 20 and 15. I don't ever leave the 10 one. I always do 15 or 20.
Oh wow! So you're not only going to this other coffee shop, but you're leaving a decent tip at this other coffee shop, but you won't do
Yes.
it for Starbucks.
Yeah, because
That-
it tastes better.
That's not hypocritical.
I mean, no. Not
No?
really. No, not to me.
Why?
Well, because I've seen how they make coffee at Starbucks, and it's honestly a much faster kind of system. This coffee shop you and me go to, they brew the fucking beans in front of us for each cup they make. They don't do that at Starbucks. That shit's already brewed. They're brewing it a pot at a time because they use the same kind of coffee for all their shit. The coffee house we're going to, they use very different coffees for a majority of those drinks, so they make that shit by the cup.
So,
And I don't know, something about that, I do truly, I like that more, and I feel like it's more work. I feel like you did more.
so you're tipping based on the quality of service that you receive.
More than anything, yes. There is a little bit in there too of the quality of what I received, not just the service, but the food, the drink,
Quality.
whatever. Yeah, there is a little bit of that in there too, because if I go to a banging ass restaurant and a server does great the whole time, brings me 20 refills of my drink, make sure I have 80 cups of ketchup, what the fuck ever, like, I'm going to be wanting to leave her a pretty hefty tip, but it's going to be just slightly less if all my food fucking sucked. Now, that's not her fault. It's not her fault as a server.
But that only affects her and her tip.
I know.
So
That's just a mentality kind of thing, I feel like. Because even if I said I wouldn't, in my head, I still would when it happened.
So what if
It would
she,
affect my tip because I'd be like, the fucking food was garbage. Like,
So
she was great. I was going to leave 20, but the food was fucking trash. So I'm going to leave 15.
So even
Like,
if
I'm
she
still leaving her a tip. It's still a fairly decent tip, in my opinion. It's just a little less decent than it would have been if my food actually tasted good. Now, granted, I don't run into that situation very often either. I haven't done that. I've maybe done it once or twice.
even if she comes back and says, "Hey, is everything all right? Is your food okay?"
Yeah.
And you lie to her and you
Yes.
go, "Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
it's great."
Yeah, good. While I'm chewing up a piece of fucking shoe leather, because I do that. Yeah, I have that kind of
That
anxiety.
still affects her tip.
I'm the boyfriend from that meme where there's always some little female person in front of some big dude who's like, he didn't want pickles on his fucking burger. Like, I'm that guy. So yeah, if you serve me, there's levels to it. Once again, if you serve me a pile of dog shit and it's absolutely terrible, I'll say something. But if you serve me anything that's half-ass what I asked for or half-ass good, I probably will try to eat that shit and just shut up.
And
Just
it will
because-
still affect her tip, even though she came
Yeah.
by and asked you if everything was
Yeah.
all right, gave you the opportunity to be
Yeah.
a man and,
Yes.
and say your piece.
Yeah.
But
I
you'll
wouldn't.
rather be one of those.
Well, if it's wrong, if the food is
no.
wrong,
No,
then that's when I get in that
Hold on.
situation. If the food is just cooked badly, that truly doesn't.
I got beef with you right now.
uh,
You sound like the Uber passenger. So I got this thing right. I tell riders all the time. When they get in the car, when I pick them up, I confirm the address where they're going. I tell them how long we have to get there, and I say, hey, if you need anything, let me know.
Right.
And then I proceed to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, I learned to say, if my driving bothers you,
Mm-hmm.
let me know, and I will fix it.
See, how do you do that? How do you fix your driving? Most people drive a certain fucking way. I feel like that's a behavior
Hey,
you can't adjust.
you're
really.
driving a little too fast.
So is that what you expect?
Or
You
hey,
expect a
you're
passenger to say that to you?
taking those turns a
Taking
little.
the turns too goddamn hard.
Yeah.
What's make me spill yak on this $200 suit? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Hey,
But you literally expect people to say that to you?
yeah,
Have they?
no,
That's not something you say to a stranger who's driving you, I don't think.
what?
Yeah.
This is where we have a disagreement.
Well, you just have a pimp ass mentality, and there's
I'm-
nothing wrong with that.
I'm
But
trying-
my mentality is that I
I'm
live in a
try-
world
I
full of
even-
murderers and psychopaths,
I feel
and I have a
like
stranger driving me around, so I'm probably just going to be like, "Fuck it," he speeds a little.
I feel like if I bring it up, it makes it okay for you to say something.
Right.
If I say, hey, if my driving bothers you, let me know what it is, and I'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Opens the door for that conversation.
But you've totally been in those type of situations, because we all have, where somebody has presented you with an option like that, and when you took that option, they were like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, yeah.
Everybody's been in that shoe too, so maybe that's part of it too.
But
why
your past
nobody's-
experiences aren't my fault.
Don't bring your trauma into my fucking Uber. You leave that baggage the fuck out, or you put it in the trunk where we can't fuck with it while we're driving.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what you should literally tell people.
I did have a ride.
That's hard.
I did have a ride to the airport yesterday where the guy was depressed because him and his girlfriend just split up, and I was like, "Oh man, that
give him
sucks."
some therapy?
He was just like trauma dumping on me, and then like halfway through the ride, I found out that he's the one that actually broke up with her.
He's the one. Well, did she fuck up though, or did he just break up with her because he's a nut?
So like supposedly like what started it was that he was sick with mono, and they were
Ooh.
supposed to go see her parents.
Okay.
And the trip ended up getting pushed back, and she felt some type of way.
So he broke up with her.
Essentially,
That sounds stupid.
and then
How do you get mono?
she argues.
She argues.
Yeah,
Is that the first woman he's spoken to? The fuck? She argues.
She argues.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. I was like, this doesn't really sound too bad, my guy.
Yeah.
Granted, he's only 25, right? So he's still young.
That's young, but
And
not that
she was
goddamn
like,
young.
I think she was like a couple years younger than him. So like, she's
that might have something to do with it. That
it-
25-year-old range, if you're talking to somebody who's fucking 21 when you're 25, that doesn't sound like much of an
So-
age gap, but it fucking is.
So here's what it is, right? Is by the end of the ride, I came to the conclusion that she didn't know how to communicate her emotions, and
Right.
he didn't know how to understand it.
Ooh, that's deep. You hit that motherfucker with some Dr. Phil shit. Son, the problem is
No.
you don't know your emotions. and you can't fucking understand what you don't know.
No, I dropped him off at the airport, dapped him up, and said, "There's plenty of fish in the sea, my guy."
That's what you tell people. That's what you tell people. No one wants to hear that existential Carl Jung bullshit. You just be like, bruh, plenty of fish.
Plenty of fish in the sea, bro. Good luck.
The saying and the app. Listen to both of them. Go away.
No, I did hit him with the. At least she didn't throw a crystal ashtray at you.
Mm.
It's like, doesn't sound too bad. Like grass ain't always green on the other side. Sometimes you just got to kind of.
I'd play devil's
deal with
advocate in that situation. I really would. People trauma dump on me all the time, and I try and hit them with some weird shit. I'd be like, well, have you tried Grindr? You know who doesn't act crazy like that? Dudes.
So I had this one Uber ride one night, right? And it was weird because it was like midnight or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I pull up and it's a lady in the front yard with a red Solo cup taking a ride to the airport in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh God, here we go, right?
Yeah.
So come to find out, this lady had just taken a flight earlier in the day back home because her and her husband were in Miami and got to arguing. So she packed her stuff, booked a flight, and left Miami and came back.
It's cool to have it
Right?
like that. It really is. You know what?
So-
Fuck you. I'm getting on a plane.
So it's like later in the night, whatever. She said it was probably about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and she started trying to call him or whatever, and he wouldn't answer the phone.
Meanwhile, she's already in another fucking state.
So she had to go.
He probably thinks she's in the room at this
So-
hotel, and this bitch is in another state.
So yeah, she thought that he started the argument on purpose to get her to go home, so he could be with another woman.
Oh,
so
was he fucking somebody in there?
I don't know. I never got to catch up.
Never got the damn
yeah.
The sauce on that.
No, I never did. So
Damn.
that's like the bad part. It's like you don't get the follow
Now
up.
I'm hung up on that too, and
You
so
don't-
is anybody listening.
You
That's
don't
fucked
don't
up.
get the follow up on the end of the Uber ride.
So where was she
but
going?
She was going back to Miami because she still had her hotel card.
Oh, so she was trying to catch him.
She was trying to catch him cheating.
That's the
so,
long
like-
game. Why didn't you just go to the bar across the street
No,
and call
here's-
him and tell him you went back to fucking home?
Here's the best part is like towards the end of the ride, like I threw a wrench in it, right? I was like, what if you get there and there's another guy?
Ooh, what if you found Grindr?
She was like, I would divorce him so fast. Like her blood pressure, like her face just drained.
Why is it worse?
And I was like, what the world is going on?
Why is
here?
it
Like,
worse? Yeah.
I thought I was like not going to make it out of the car at that point. I was
Thought
like,
infidelity was the issue to begin with. Now you're madder because there's a dick in the picture?
I thought I signed my own certificate.
I would be
there.
just as upset.
I was
if you
like,
cheated
oh
on
boy.
me with a man or a woman. I don't really see why that matters. Like you cheated on me. That's what the fuck matters.
She was pretty upset about that, so I was like, that's when I learned to like not really like stir the pot much with some of these people.
Right. Yeah, they're in your whip. They're gonna start fucking your car up. That motherfucker makes me want to slash this leather with a knife.
Shout out to everybody watching, man. We appreciate you joining in. Feel free to drop a comment about anything we're talking about. We're just BSing right now,
We're just
talking about
bullshit,
Uber rides and stuff that's kind of happened over the past week or previous Uber rides. But I think there's some other stuff that happened this week, like
there's a lot of other shit that happened this week.
You want to start off with Gene Hackman, because I really thought that was a very interesting story.
That was some pretty crazy shit.
It's sad.
That sucked. Yeah.
I don't really remember the gentleman. Like,
Really?
I couldn't tell you like all the movies he's been in or anything.
You got to
but
be my generation, I guess.
the-
I definitely remember
the
Gene
name
Hackman.
the name is really familiar. Like I remember him.
I
being-
mean, he was. I guess most people would probably know him, in my opinion, as Lex Luthor. He was Lex Luthor in the original Superman movies with Christopher Reeve.
Okay, that's where I know the name.
Yeah,
Okay.
most people younger, if you know Gene Hackman, it's probably from those movies. But I mean, he was in a million. I mean, he had a very long Hollywood career and was in tons and tons and tons of movies. He was in Hoosiers, which is like this really famous '80s basketball movie that's funny and a lot of people watched. He was in a ton of Western movies. He was just he was a good actor. He was a good character actor. He could be like anything he needed to be. He was one of those
He
guys.
said he won a bunch of awards.
He did. I think he won a bunch of Oscars and shit. Yeah.
Said he was really good in the community. Said he was always walking around in the community.
He was
really
a cool guy.
Was a really good person in the
He
community.
was a decent person. No one had anything bad to say about him. He was married to a woman who was a little bit younger than him. Not
She
too
was
much,
a
apparently.
really good pianist.
She was a pianist, yes. And apparently, I think she was also like a model to an extent.
Yeah.
She did some modeling, apparently. And Yeah, that I don't know, man. It looks like the consensus is that he,
Well, hold on. Let me remind you of YouTube policy.
yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
All right.
It looks like his heart stopped, and he potentially, I guess, fell down the stairs because they found him at the bottom of the stairs,
Like he had a heart attack or something.
like he had an attack and clutched his shit and fell over and just slid down the stairs. And then the assumption is that his wife wasn't there at the time, or wasn't able to get to him in time. And then by the time she got to him, I don't know, maybe depression immediately set in or something because she didn't call the cops or anything. I think they think that she offed herself. Yeah,
Like a
basically.
like a love story.
Yeah, like she
Yeah.
pretty much just was like, I'm not going to live without him, because they found an open bottle of some kind of pills that I don't think they've said what it is yet next to her.
Right.
But like they found her in a pretty rough condition too, so they attribute that to the medicine or
Right.
whatever it was. And I mean, it's just 1 and 1 makes 2 kind of thing, It's pretty obvious. And then the dog bit it too. That sucked. They
The
had a
dog
dog.
was still locked in the cage.
They had a dog locked in a kennel down there. And I imagine if I was her and I just walked in and saw my husband laying there like he was, and that hit probably happened mentally, and like nothing mattered. You know what I mean? Nothing.
nothing.
Like she wasn't thinking about
It
any
was-
of that.
Like a switch flipped.
Because they had other dogs too that were outside, and they were all fine.
They were fine.
Yeah.
I mean, for being there for so long, like they were talking about like the state they
Yeah.
were found in, like they were pretty much mummified at that point.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah, they were
their
there
skin was
for-
hardened.
They were there for 10 days at least, is what they were saying.
I think one of the more recent reports of what I seen this morning when I woke up was that he had a pacemaker.
Yeah,
'Cause,
you were saying
he
something
was
about his pacemaker.
he was 95 years old.
Yeah.
And I believe that they said that the last registration on the pacemaker was on February 17th.
February 17th. So
Yeah.
when they found him yesterday morning, or I think it was actually late at night the day before yesterday.
So I mean, it was in the morning.
It was in the morning
because
of
one of the
yesterday,
maintenance men
AM.
came. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the maintenance men came and found the door partially cracked and
Right,
kind of looked
right.
in and then called security, and security
Yeah.
came and called the
So yeah, that was roughly 10 days.
authorities.
So he was there. They were there for right about 10 days.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly where they lived, but wasn't it like a desert area? Didn't they live in Nevada or
Nevada, Arizona,
Arizona, something like that? New
Somewhere.
Mexico, somewhere in that area. So you figure dry, hot, not a lot of moisture. That's kind of what happens. You get that mummification effect real quick.
But to be a part of movies and to be in the movie for so long, because his wife was with him for a while too.
Yeah, they were
being-
together for at least a decade or so.
Yeah, so being in the movies for that long and doing that kind of thing, I believe that it could be like a movie script.
I mean, for a way to go, it seems like a wild ass ending to a movie, doesn't it?
It does.
For real.
To write a story,
It's fucked up you see both of them go down, and then the camera just pans over, and the last thing you see is the dog in the kennel. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, come on, bro. Why'd you already have to ruin it?
That's it. That's how it would go. Wait for the Netflix biopic in a fucking month.
Oh my goodness, he ruined it. He ruined it already.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
What do they call that?
You remember in Bambi when Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just making a joke.
Well, I guess we're moving on.
We're moving on. That's not a topic we can stay on very long.
Did you see that they want to do? We should pay our respects and say, rest in peace to Gene Hackman.
He was the man, and it sucks to hear about him, his wife, and his dog.
95 years old, bro.
He lived a full life. It really sucks to hear about his
His
wife.
wife
and the
was, I
dog
think,
part.
it was like
That
64.
She was in her mid-60s.
Yeah, so I mean that's still kind of
like
young.
she won't no kid, but she probably had years left.
Definitely had some
So
years left.
She left a little early.
Yeah.
And it sucks anytime an animal dies. I hate that shit. I make jokes because it's the only way I can.
Well, he just had no way to survive.
Like when that
'cause he
shit
was
happens in
locked
a
cage.
movie, I hate it.
I do shed it to you.
I hate it. We were watching fucking the Riddick movies the other night. You ever watch any of those?
No.
Vin Diesel.
No.
Where he's,
Vin Diesel.
they're
yeah.
like sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
That's his name is Riddick, and he's like the baddest motherfucker in the galaxy because of family. I was driving my old lady crazy because every time we watched, there's 3 of those movies, and we watched all 3 of them, and just constantly, I was just like, because of family. But in the last one, like he finds like a pup he's on this weird alien world, and he finds this like dog wolf puppy
Uh-huh.
and raises it and turns it into like his best friend kind of thing. And it's badass. It's big as shit. It's like man sized, and this big weird greyhoundy wolfy looking thing. And of course, like halfway through the movie, if you watch those movies, you know anybody he talks to and is cool with ends up dead halfway through the movie. And yeah, the dog bites the bullet, bro. And it's literal, like he's chewing this guy up. The bad guy's kind of like on him, chewing him up, and the fucker gets to a gun and he puts it up on the side of him, and you know, and you hear the dog make that "I'm a dying dog" noise. That fucking and it's terrible.
I don't know how we know that noise.
It's so because they play it anytime you see an animal fucking die on a TV show or anything.
Unalive.
Ugh. You see it anytime you see that on a TV show.
I've only said it 3 times now.
13. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I think it's one of those sound bites. Like it's a sound clip, and it's just if you know, we got a dog laying here, play that bit. You know.
But it made you sad.
Horribly, because they show it. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Always try to look away. Always try to predict those parts and look away before it happens.
I knew it was coming, and I was still like, "Fuck."
So
that sucks, man.
So another Uber story is I was driving my way back to Raleigh, North Carolina, after taking a ride right way out into the boonies.
The boons.
And I was on the freeway, and I was doing like 65, 70, and I was coming up to a speed trap where it dropped down to 55. So I took my attention off the road for 2 seconds to adjust my speed, and the next thing I know, it goes boom, boom. And I was like, dang, there goes my front bumper. And, you know, my front bumper's already kind of messed up.
Got a little issue.
From the retracted tire. So, you know, I was like, for sure that's my bumper this time, you know.
Man.
And then I thought, you know, like my second instinct was, oh, man, did I just hit somebody's cat? You know what I mean?
That's rough.
So, like, I felt bad instantly because I was like, I'll at least go pay my respect. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, like if I hit cat or something, like I'll at least.
I've done that. If I hit your animal in a car, yeah, I'm not that person who's gonna leave it there. I got to get out and go to the door, and you got to cuss me out. I deserve it. All that shit.
And I got to go pay respect to the animal, like you know what I mean.
I got to get the animal out of the road.
Yeah,
That's fucked up. People who just plow animals keep going. It really is.
Yeah, so like I'm about trying to do the right thing. So I turned around a couple of times. I didn't see it the first time. Didn't see it the second time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, I remember that pothole. And then like right after that pothole is when it happened. And so I pull up and I turn my high beams on, and like on both sides of the road, it's just lined with possums that have been hit before. It was like 4 possums over here, and it was like 6 possums, 7 possums over here on the right side of the road. And at that point, I was like, okay, I don't feel bad anymore. It's like, that's like a cemetery at this point. A cemetery for possums.
It's like an elephant graveyard. Like he was going there to kick it anyway.
Yeah, I was
you just helped him along.
Yeah, like I was like, man, he's with all his homies now. You know what I mean? Like possum heaven. Shout out. You know,
messed up. He's with all his homies now.
Yeah, I wasn't lying.
No,
he was.
No,
you know,
that's what's going on right now here with skunks, dude. You've been driving the roads around here.
Oh man,
what the hell?
So I hit a skunk one time on my way to pick up an Uber rider, and I felt so bad, bro.
I haven't hit one yet, but driving around here, we obviously have a real bad problem with them because they are all over the sides of the roads here. I'm talking about like any road I go down.
I had to dodge one the other night. I swerved really bad to dodge one the other night.
Live one?
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, he was crossing the road too. Little trash.
See, that's what's crazy with me is I don't think I've seen one alive yet. The only ones I've seen have been on the sides of the road.
Nah, bro. I definitely seen this one alive.
Ton of them.
Because he like purposely stopped in front of my tire, and I was like, "Ooh, you son of a gun!"
See what I'm saying? What are they doing?
You son of a gun!
It's like that. That's what I keep thinking too. I keep seeing them, and I'm like, "Damn, are they literally asking for it? What is going on?"
You little trash kitty. So I hit one on my way to pick up an Uber rider one time, and I felt so bad for her. And she told me, she's like, man, I smelled you as soon as I came out the house. And dude, my car, I mean, like I had to wash my car like 4 times, and it still took like a week for the smell to go all the way away. Sure. And every Uber ride, it was, what's that smell? I was like, look, I hit a skunk. I'm sorry.
I've never actually plowed one myself, like from the alive position, but I have hit them because they've been in the road and I couldn't swerve and they were already there, splattered.
Yeah.
And it's happened to me too, where I'm like, fuck, it's got on the vehicle. It's on the
It's
car.
on the tire.
And if it's on your tire or on your undercarriage, you're fucked, bro.
Bro,
You got to burn that shit off.
Bro,
You just got to
I
drive it off.
I washed that
There's
car so
nothing you
many
could wash
times.
it with. You got to run the rubber off that tire and sling enough mud and shit on your undercarriage to cover it up. That's the only thing to do.
Man, I washed that car so many times. So when I saw that skunk the other night, I swerved so bad. I was like,
He
oh,
almost
man.
wrecked the car just because he was like, I can't wash it that much, I can't.
And, bro, I was not about to spend another like $200 to wash my car to try and get it to
I feel
not
that.
stink anymore.
I feel that.
Because you just couldn't find where it was coming from.
That sucks, man.
Oh, it does. Yeah, no, the skunks, man. I'd rather run over a possum than a skunk any day.
Let's get off the unalive subject. What else is going on? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was just going to stay on it and talk about Luigi while we're at it.
It's so hard for me to tread that territory. There's so many words I'm not allowed to say that are so common sensey. But yeah, we'll talk about Luigi and then get that out of the way. And then the rest of the stuff we talk about won't have anything to do with being unalive or not. So I won't have so many areas to fuck up.
You sure?
I'd hope not. We'll see.
Okay.
That's going to be the theme, I guess. Just every time we talk about anything is going to be me saying the D word or the S word by accident.
Oh, it's just you violating the
fucking
heck out of
policies.
YouTube
Violating
policies, and we'll never see monetization.
Never.
And you'll never see ads on our stuff.
Never. So enjoy
Because-
that. We do it for you
Yeah.
because we know the people don't want to see that shit.
I don't
You don't
know.
want to have to watch commercials.
I'll be frank with you. I've never read YouTube policies, but I've kind of
We breezed through them.
I've breezed through it.
We breezed through them before we started this.
Kind of learned from watching other people.
Yeah.
You know.
They actually have, handy enough, YouTube videos talking about the YouTube policies.
Yeah,
and
they do.
And we've watched a couple of those.
Yeah, but I don't think you've learned shit.
No, it's not about learning. I know. It's just it's fucking reflex, bro. It's hard. It's hard for me to control my mouth, and that's something I have to work on. And I do really, I really do.
Boy.
But I mean, it slips. And honestly, like I said, some of these words really are just the common sense word to use. And it's not a curse word. It's not a derogatory word. Anything like that. It's just a banned word. And so it's hard for me to click that into place in my mind. That's all that is. It's definitely not a show of fuck you or anything like that. It's not I'm too ignorant to remember. I get it. It's just, man, it's just not clicking. It will, though. It will. It just takes practice. It takes repetition.
You got to
And I'm getting
retrain
it.
yourself.
It's a training. Yeah, that's it. I have to train, and this is part of it still. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but it has gotten better. I've noticed. Oh, yeah. I've noticed. Yeah, fuck you.
So there's this thing. There's this thing about like when you give people compliments, that's when they screw up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I've heard
that's where that's kind of my stance on this situation right now.
Okay. I got you. Hard, tough love. Tough
You,
love.
you don't like it?
I didn't say that.
What's wrong with tough love?
Nothing. I just identified it for what it was.
Maybe I was trying to look out for you and not jinx you.
That's what tough love is.
No, okay. All right.
Fuck you. Because of family.
So what do you think about Luigi?
That shit's
you
wild,
said
bro.
you didn't know anything about it before it came over here, and caught you up on it a little bit. What you think about it?
It's pretty crazy.
You want to kind of give people?
I mean, I knew I've known about the majority of what's going on in his case, but I didn't know the most recent stuff where his lawyers are trying to get all that evidence thrown out because it was basically gathered illegally.
You want to give
And-
people the rundown on the situation real quick.
Sure,
Give
yeah.
the people watching. Shout out to everybody watching. Feel
shout out
free
to anybody who cares.
feel free to leave your opinion in the comments, and
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
be.
curious what people really think about Luigi. Honestly,
Why?
what their thoughts are. I'm just truly curious. I don't know.
What
It
about?
has a wild division in my mind, and I'm curious to see the way other people feel about him.
Pull the mic up a little bit. Like, there you go. But how do you?
Keeps drooping.
Yeah, it
There we
does.
go. That's better.
There you go.
Yeah.
So how do you? What's your opinion on it now after seeing the newest? News?
Well, my opinion hasn't changed because I've always been pro Luigi, but I do feel a little vindicated by it, honestly, and I hope he does too, and I hope it works out that they're trying to say all that evidence was gathered illegally, that he was illegally detained, that he was illegally searched, that he wasn't Mirandized, and then very much after the fact of all that, that's when his Miranda rights were read. Something like 15 to 20 minutes after he had been surrounded interrogated, questioned, had all of his shit taken away from him. Something like 15 to 20 minutes after that, that's when he was Mirandized, which was basically right before they picked him up and put him in the car. So, like, they kept him in McDonald's for 20, 25 minutes while more cops came in. I think that affidavit or whatever said there was like 10 or more by the time it was done. So, like, 2 came in on him. And then within a 15-minute span of time, there was like 10 police officers there. They completely blocked him from moving. They blocked him from getting up from the table other than to literally stand up and get searched. Like, so they blocked him from leaving, and then they took his stuff from him. It seems like they really fucked up. It really does. I don't know how the lawyers are going to be able to, like the state's lawyers or whatever, are going to be able to work around that. It seems like the Altoona Police Department really fucked that whole arrest up.
Just keep dropping the F-bomb every sentence. You got it.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with the F-bomb.
Every sentence.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a banned word.
Every sentence.
I could say fuck every other sentence.
But no, they really did. They might have messed it up. It's going to be interesting how his defense fight this in court. I do think that they do have a hard leg to stand on.
They have body cam footage and stuff apparently of the whole thing. So as far as their timing and when things got said, they can't really claim otherwise. They have footage of it.
As they said, that you don't really have to be in handcuffs to be in custody.
Right.
You could just have no way to leave.
You just have to not have you have to have all your exits blocked.
And
he was blocked up.
According to the picture that the papers painted, they painted him in the corner of a McDonald's.
And he was in like a corner booth.
In the corner booth.
Yeah.
So there was no way to really slide out, and the 2 cops stood on either side of the booth.
And I think he said within like 3 minutes, there was 2 other police officers there. So they started showing up pretty much one right after another within minutes.
And created a wall.
The first one coming in. And there was a human wall in front of him within 4 minutes.
Right.
So he was in an area small enough to where 4 fairly burly-ass cops, if you've seen a picture of these guys, they're not small dudes, were shoulder to shoulder, and that completely blocked him from leaving. Completely. So you're pretty much in custody right there.
You think that considers being in custody?
I think from that moment, yeah.
From that moment. I
mean, like I said earlier too, I feel like any interaction you have with a police officer, you are essentially in custody. If you get pulled over for fucking speeding,
they're usually standing at your door, and you're not free to drive off.
And what happens if you drive away and they don't tell you to?
Right.
You're going to fucking prison. You're in custody.
But at that point, they're usually pulling you over for suspicion or something like speeding or your window tint.
And I know driving rules have a little bit of difference than your other standard rules.
At this
but
point,
it's the same thing as saying if 2 cops just walk up on you on the street and you try to walk away from them, they're probably going to try to stop you.
Well, they claimed that they didn't tell him that he was under investigation.
They did not.
And they claimed
they didn't tell him what he was under investigation for. They were trying to grill him.
They just claimed that he overstayed his welcome as a patron at McDonald's.
Yes.
That's
and then forced him to stay sitting at the table for 20 more minutes before getting him up and getting him out of there.
Yeah, when you say it like that, I mean,
seems like they might have messed up.
It seems like they might have messed up, because if you knew who you had, right?
Yeah.
If you knew the suspect that you were dealing with, then you knew that there was evidence probably containing to what you suspected him of in that backpack.
More than likely.
Which means you should have had a warrant to search that backpack, even though you knew who it was.
Or you should have at least been confident enough to go on ahead and arrest him under suspicion. Don't look at his bag.
Read him his Miranda rights.
Read him his Miranda rights. Put him in the fucking car. Put all his stuff in the car. Have his bag properly searched after he is under arrest correctly.
Right.
And through legal means.
Yeah.
Like it seems like there was like 12 different ways they could have went about this.
They do search your stuff before they take you to jail.
They do. And it's part of it. To where you don't need a search warrant. It's part of it. If they take you to jail, they're going to look through your stuff. It's just part of it. So there's literally like a ton of different ways that the cops could have handled this and been painted as heroes. Like they would have done everything. They could have followed him. They could have, hitched onto him from McDonald's and watched him.
Or took him outside to talk to him, because then that would have gave him the option to walk away.
That would have given him the option to try to run, anything like that, try to pull something. give the cops any real reason to put him down.
Right.
They could have handled it 100 different ways other than walking in, immediately blocking this dude from doing shit and being like, "Where were you? Where'd you come from? Give me this."
What do you think causes this kind of behavior within law enforcement? You know, because that is kind of intimidating, right?
Yeah, it's the training. There's such a weird fine line for being a cop. That's why I would never. Well, it's one of the reasons I would never do it is because you're trained to act like they act, and yet they know that if they get caught in the wrong way, acting in that manner, that it will go against them very badly.
Because I believe these cops think that they were doing their job.
They do, yes. And they probably think everything they did was correct.
They didn't do anything wrong.
We didn't do anything wrong. We did what we always do.
But we do have constitutional rights at a certain point.
Yes.
You know, so
Yes.
there is a line, even though
not just constitutional rights, but actual Pennsylvania state constitution rights. Like that's part of
because
what the lawyers are talking
that's where
about.
It happened.
That's where he got arrested, was in Altoona, PA, and this violates not just the obvious constitutional rights, but the state constitutional rights where he was fucking arrested. I don't know, man. It seems like they've dug their own hole already, and yeah, I'm really curious to see what the prosecution is going to have to say about it.
It's going to be interesting to watch him fight it out in court.
I feel like he's going to get off of the civil charges. That's what I told you earlier. I think the state charges are going to go away because of that, because of his arrest and the improper gathering of the evidence. And then I think it's just going to be a federal case.
So hold on. You think he's going to get out of the Pennsylvania case?
I do.
Okay.
Specifically over because that's where the arrest took place and all that got messed up. Now, the New York one, I'm not so sure about because that's where it actually happened.
Do you think that they'll be able to at least suppress the evidence that was found on him in Pennsylvania in New York?
Even if they do, that's what his lawyer team is arguing. Even if they do get that evidence suppressed, it's already been put out, and there's no way to sway public opinion about it now. So even proving it was gathered illegally, proving he was arrested and detained illegally, and having all those his gun and his clip and his manifesto, and I think he was one other thing that might have been a suppressor.
Right.
Was even having all that suppressed, put away from being used. It's public knowledge that they found it already. If once again, if the evidence was gathered correctly, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know that what was in that bag.
That's for courts to decide.
That would have come out in the courtroom.
Right.
That's when it would have been brought out. If all that evidence was gathered correctly, we would not know what was in that bag. He would still be a mystery suspect who was caught with a mystery package, and you'll figure out what it is.
Until the discovery came out,
yeah.
Then we would have figured out what was in the bag when the discovery came out and all that good stuff for the trial.
Yeah, right before the trial. Yes.
So do you think you'll think he'll get off on the Pennsylvania charges? You're not
like
sure about the New York ones.
50-50 on the New York.
What about the federal?
I feel like the federal, they're going to find a reason to get around it. Yeah, they're not going to let him go off the federal one, I don't think.
You don't think so?
I feel like not.
What do you think?
Because he's charged with like 3 or 4 things, right? Technically speaking.
Technically speaking, yeah.
I feel like they're going to figure out some way to get it to where they'll drop 2 of the 3 charges, and then that one charge is the federal charge.
And give him how long?
Well, I don't think that. I don't know, man, because that lawyer, the one we were listening to who was talking about, he brought up a pretty interesting point that I think is a possibility that might happen, where the jury could potentially vote in a manner that says Luigi is guilty of the crime, but is undeserving of the punishment. So that's like the equivalent of saying that on his record he's going to have a guilty verdict against him, but he's not going to go to jail.
Serve no punishment.
He'll serve no punishment.
Well, we spent billions and billions and billions of dollars going after Trump.
Yeah.
Or millions, whatever the number is.
Spent a lot.
We spent a whole lot of money.
A lot of money.
Going after Trump in New York.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, even that was basically it. His impeachment went that way. I mean, he was impeached. He was impeached. He was impeached, and he just went back to work. Like, people forgot that was the first time he was president. People seem to have forgot that shit. But yeah, it's very similar. Like, he will get that kind of verdict put on him that happened, but it will hold no sway. nothing will happen. He will walk out of
He
court.
won't get any punishment.
He will walk out of court.
You think that's more likely than them finding him not guilty?
I don't know.
Guilty,
Because
not
there is
guilty,
a lot of
or-
evidence
What do you
against
think?
him.
Not guilty, no punishment, or guilty?
I think the no punishment one more than anything.
More than really
I think his crime was too identifiable.
that people was able to relate with it.
It's the same thing as robbing a grocery store to feed your starving family when you don't have a job. It's that same mentality. If you brought a guy into the courtroom like that, no jury in the world is going to be able to convict that guy.
How can you relate that to that?
It's the similar principle because you have too much empathy as a human. And there's a lot of people who really empathize with what he did. If he did it, what he was accused of doing. If he put that guy down, there's a lot of people who support that. There's a lot of people in this country who've been screwed by the medical industry, by the insurance companies, and that shit just felt like a little bit of payback.
You think that this case is just too relatable to your average American?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I feel the same way.
I mean, they pretty much publicized the fact that they had a very difficult time trying to get a jury in the first place.
But I feel
They
like
went through a heavy jury selection. Heavy.
I feel like at some point they might ask for a diverted verdict, which means ask for the judge to decide the case at some point.
That's also
and
a possibility.
they could probably get a
yes.
guilty plea through that way.
If I see, I almost kind of feel like that's going to be their backtrack if the jury gives them that verdict. If the jury gives them the he's guilty but no punishment served, I feel like they're going to try and appeal it
And get it
then put it
diverted.
directly in front of a judge.
Yeah.
Yes, because I guess if you were to show all that evidence directly to one judge, he'd probably go to prison.
Because he's basing it off facts.
Off fact, he's not going to give a
a
fuck about how the chain of evidence was collected. He's
Not
not
your
going to give a
feelings.
shit about your feelings. For him, this guy put somebody down, and this is the punishment.
This is
for
what
that.
the law says for that. It's,
Yeah,
it's
he's
a
going
little
to get
bit more.
25 to life.
It's a little bit more black and white when you're
Yes.
doing something with a judge, as if you're doing something
But a
with
jury of your peers is a jury of your peers. That's what that means. They're people just, supposed to be people just like you.
who's kind of gone through similar situations
Yeah.
or relatable situations.
Yeah. And all they ask you in jury duty is really, do you agree or disagree with what this person did? Like, that's your disqualifier immediately.
Can anybody really answer that question like truthfully?
And that's a tough one because most of the time when you're in jury duty, you figure, you're in there for a real case.
especially in New York. Like bro looked like Gotham. Like it looked like Gotham when they were walking him down. Like it looked like a Batman movie when
He
they were
looked like the
walking
Riddler.
him.
Yeah, like the fucking Riddler just leaving his train. Honestly, what I thought immediately when I looked at him was Hannibal Lecter. I don't know why, because he wasn't wearing the face
He
mask.
should have been wearing the face mask, but that's
I-
all they were missing.
Immediately, that's what I was thinking was like, Jesus, it's Hannibal. Got this guy with AKs all around him, and the fucking mayor is behind him, like with his hand on his shoulder, looking like Commissioner Gordon.
Giving a press conference.
Yeah, all I'm waiting for is Batman to drop in front of him and be like, I told you I'd catch you. I'm Batman. Vile murderer. Not in Gotham. Not in my city.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, yeah, it was so extra, and I feel like most of this has been very extra, and I think that was the point. It's supposed to be a show of extra. It's supposed to be a show of force. That shit will not be tolerated because, God forbid, the average person see something like that and just get the idea of thinking
That's relatable.
that might be the right thing to do.
It's okay.
That's understandable. Or not only that, but I fully agree with that, and I want to participate.
So I still have my same perspective.
Viewer participation is what I think scares most people. But they're going to see that and want to do it too.
I still have the same perspective that
What's
I've
that?
had from the beginning, right?
What's
Like
That Mangione is a funny name.
the gentleman that unfortunately passed away from this was a husband and a family member, and
Right.
I understand
Right.
that aspect, so I have empathy there.
Do you?
Like I feel that. Like at the end of the day,
Mhm.
he made business decisions that may have costed people their lives, essentially.
Yeah, he definitely did.
You know,
Literally
Um,
millions of people. Yes.
but he was put in that position of power and made those business decisions.
Mhm.
So
He's
I
not the
understand.
first. He won't be
He's
the
not-
last.
and won't be the last.
Yeah.
But
Somebody filled his chair the next day.
He was unfortunately the example.
Somebody
So
sat in his spot the next day.
I feel bad for his family. His kids.
I feel bad for his wife and his kids.
Wife. The people.
Losing a husband or a father sucks no matter what your conditions
the people
are.
that were close to
The
him.
Nazis got gunned down, and their wives and children probably felt bad.
At
Their
the
wives and kids.
At the other time, I can understand what the mass
Mm-hmm.
American people feel like as well.
Absolutely.
I can understand that
I
aspect.
think we all have a very similar mindset when it comes to insurance companies in this country at this point.
Well,
Specifically, the medical insurance companies.
we could talk about that in a minute, but yes, we do have a kind of, and it's probably like the only thing that Americans
It's one of the few things we could all agree on. Yeah,
kind of agree
at
on,
least for the most part. Yeah,
depending on what parts of medical treatment you're talking about.
Yes. For the
but,
most part, it's an area with more agreeability in Americans than most.
we all agree insurance people are the problem.
Yes,
Pretty much. That's pretty much the agreeable line there.
yeah.
At the same time, I do feel like maybe some more training with the police department would have effectively had a case against him.
Absolutely.
You know?
If they'd have, like I said, if they'd have done one of 13 different things,
If
it would have helped them a lot.
Didn't do this mass media walkthrough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a good look, and we've never seen something like that before neither. So it's kind of like he's not really getting a fair trial.
He's already not getting a fair trial, and his trial hasn't started because, the images have put on him, pushed toward the public, already are trying to sway opinion.
So I really think, like, at this point, what you just have to do is just put it in front of a jury of 12.
See what plays out.
And just see what plays out.
Right.
On both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Because the American people kind of side with him, but you do this perp walk and try to paint him in a different picture, and you're just going to have to see what works out if it doesn't get thrown out over the.
Y'all cosplayed this guy as Superman in front of us, and then got mad because we all envisioned him like that.
Yeah, so it's
a little give or take.
I just in the justice system, you're just going to have to prove him guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you have to do that in a legal manner.
Yeah, in a legal.
Meaning you got to get your evidence legally.
Yes. So that was a big thing with the Young Thug trial as well.
Yeah, I know. That's been a big thing. I mean,
and
that's
also with
a pretty recurring
and the
theme.
ASAP Rocky trial as well.
That's what I'm saying. That's a pretty recurring theme, is that law enforcement generally messes up those beginning procedures to trial work. And that might be an area they need to be trained in a little bit better. I mean, most anybody's like, cops need to be better with people or whatever, but to just truly know the certain steps that need to happen in the order that they need to happen, no matter what, under any condition, it seems like that might be, at this point in the game, a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be messing up shit all over the place.
It's policy.
It's policy,
it's policy,
and it's putting it into play.
Yeah,
maybe that's what's missing more than anything.
I agree. Well, speaking of policies, we can move on to our next subject of maybe our last and final subject. Well, we was going to talk about what would you say, insurance companies.
Are we?
Yeah, insurance companies. What you were talking about. So they're actually like investigating that. What is it, United Healthcare?
Oh, again, yeah.
They're investigating United Healthcare for
Gawning.
They're investigating United Healthcare for insurance fraud.
Mm-hmm. It's not the first time. They were doing it before that man was put down. So he was I don't know about him personally, but he was involved in at least one of those investigations. And United Healthcare has been going through those for a number of years, several different ones. Yeah.
So I mean, this is a little bit different because it's the new Trump administration that's kind of going after.
It's RFK, isn't it? Supposedly.
Yeah. And this is what's been wrong with like the medical system altogether. Is insurance fraud. That's what's driving all these costs up. Is saying, hey, these procedures were done when they actually weren't.
Yeah.
Telling you have problems when you actually don't.
Mm-hmm.
These kind of things drive up costs.
The insurance system is incorrect and needs to be reworked. The whole system needs to be reworked to
It needs
where
to
it
be-
can't be taken advantage of from one end or the other.
It needs to be transparent
It needs to be way more transparent.
because
Yeah.
I understand making a profit. There's business.
I get that.
I understand
We
making a
get that.
profit.
Nobody
So
does anything for free. We get that.
I understand if you want to make something for $3 and understand and sell it for 5 or 6 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I don't think. I feel like 1.5 times, 2 times is good profit.
Right. Right.
I don't think you should
I
be
feel
out here
similar.
making 10 or 1,500
Percent.
percent profit
Yeah.
off of selling a product.
Yeah.
You know what I
AKA
mean? Like,
insulin.
I feel like there's so much. There's like greed at a certain point, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's kind of where the
Because it's not like you're feeding an industry or you're feeding your company. You're feeding your pocket.
and
Or
it's
you
also,
might be feeding the 6 people below you, but that's it.
and it's also
Mhm.
a lot of times medications that are required to help keep people
Life
breathing.
prolonging medications. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, AKA insulin.
So-
There's been a couple of the albuterol has skyrocketed, and yeah, that's a breathing medication.
And people need this
And
in
people need
order
it.
to
Depending
breathe.
on how severe
and
your asthma is, you need it. Yeah.
so I do feel like there should be like a profit cap at somewhere, and I
Absolutely.
understand that kills the market. You know,
I don't think it kills it. It just puts a cap on it. Like
I don't.
not everything should be
but
able
I
to be
think-
played like a roulette table. Like the stock market has made things that way, and like there are certain things that are humanitarian and should not be juggled in their cost markets. I feel like food is one of those things personally. But
this is where you're going to have to say, like, then this is where it gets tricky, right? Because it's like, okay, well the cap is 1.5 to 2%.
mhm.
Like you can't make more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you can't make more than 2 times profit.
Right.
So if you make something for $3, you can't make more than $9 selling it.
Right.
But now you're going to have to go in and see how that company is making it, and if they're making it for $3, or if they're making it for $1.50,
Mhm.
and they're telling you they're making it for $3.
Right.
So it's going to take like a lot of transparency.
Well, that was what companies like the Better Business Bureau and things like that were essentially put into place for, is to make sure that your businesses are doing what they're doing, that your money is going where you say your money's going, etc. Yeah, but I don't know if shit like that really works anymore. It's one of the many systems in this country that I feel like has just not had enough attention over the years put into it, or maybe not enough funding put into it over the years, and is falling kind of to the wayside.
It is.
And now the scammers are out, the hoaxers are out, the people who are just, now's my time. The roaches are crawling out of the cracks, and they're like, I can make $1 off this. Nobody gives a fuck anymore.
Well, I mean,
And-
hospitals are guilty for it too.
They really are. The medical industry, the
They'll
pharmaceutical
get something
industry,
for
period.
$5 and sell it to you for $1,000.
Those are the same 3 industries almost. The medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the health insurance industry. They very much all work hand in hand,
They'll
even if
give
they're
you-
not the same industry. They rely upon each other, and they feed off each other. One feeds the other, feeds the other.
They'll give you Tylenol and charge you $500 for it.
Yeah.
Even though you could buy it from CVS for $2.
Yeah, you can beat a bottle of 100 of them for $3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
It is, yeah. It really is, and those prices are that high specifically because insurance companies pay it,
Yeah,
and then when the insurance companies pay it, your rates go up.
but it goes back to the
It
consumer,
goes right back. Then like people
and the prices just keep going up and up. and
People
up
seem
because
to
of it.
understand this, but I guess just don't understand any way to stop or change it.
You
know?
gotta put a cap on the profit, and I think
I think that's what Luigi did.
I
I think
boom,
that's
boom.
I think that's what a lot of people's idea of putting a cap on the profit is.
He did. I mean,
He went right to the top of the money chain and
I think he took the cap off.
he took the cap off. He busted it.
I mean, he put a cap on by taking a cap off.
He capped in.
It's like one of those clapper lights.
Yeah, clapped in, clapped out,
Clapped them.
clapped them,
Yeah,
clapped.
That's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll see it fixed in the next 5 or 10 years. Hopefully we can, but
Once again, it's just like so many other types of administrations in this country that really do need some attention and need to be kind of.
this administration moves fast. I'm not gonna lie to you. The last 30 days, it's felt like 3 years. I ain't gonna lie
crazy.
to you.
Yeah,
But
that Zelensky convo earlier, man, that was wild.
oh,
It
you
really
want
was.
to jump into that?
We can, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, this probably be our last subject.
It was pretty next level. I don't know how to feel about it. It was a little bit of a circus, just when they started yelling at each other, pretty much. But
that was later in the video. Like, what was your overall take of the meeting? Because we watched a whole 50-minute clip. Like, I didn't
watch the whole meeting.
I didn't want you to watch just the last 10 minutes because
Right.
I don't really think that set the tone.
That would have been a bad perspective watching the last 10 minutes of that, because the last 10 minutes of that, like I said, were a shit show. Pretty much, you could tell Trump was done. You could tell Zelensky was done. You could tell. I mean, you could just tell everybody was pissed off at that point. But in the beginning talks or whatever of it, it's like you said. Who'd you say said that earlier? Jon Stewart or somebody, where it was like you've never seen two sides of a political argument that you could truly say you understand both sides of, and that you're not against either one. It's really fucked up to throw Trump in there for that. It really is. I hate supporting Trump under any reason. I hate supporting anybody who's president. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm anti-president. But it was wild to hear that, because Trump is like literally saying, I'm trying to make peace. I don't want any more people to die. I don't give a shit what these two countries want with each other or from each other. I just want people to stop shooting each other. And I mean, he just reiterated that over and over and over again.
Which is agreeable.
Which is completely agreeable. Like, I don't care what wing you are flying under. Like, if you are against stopping all these people from killing each other, from offing each other, something's wrong with you. Why would you want that to continue under any circumstance? Now, on the other hand, hearing Zelensky, his obvious standpoint, and it is obvious, was that, like, there will be no peace. And I'm not saying that because I'm a warmonger. I'm saying that because the other guy is. Putin's not going to give us peace. Even when he has signed for peace deals in the past, he's broken them. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to keep doing what he's doing until you stop him.
Right.
And he's right. He really is, probably. I mean,
like, he's not really wrong.
I can't guarantee that. I don't know what Putin's thinking, but from all of his past actions, that's pretty correct.
Trump's signature hasn't been on any of those, so Trump is right when he says my signature, because you almost got to look at it like the chain of command, right? Like, if you're at work and you have a problem, you go up the chain of command. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You report it to the chain of command.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. Like, that's how Trump is handling it. He's handling it by procedure.
Right.
He's going like, okay, well, first we have to try a ceasefire agreement.
And we are the country.
He's like, in order to get to that,
that,
we got to come to a deal.
Yeah.
In order to have a ceasefire agreement, we got to come to a deal.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to me right now is getting that deal signed.
Right.
Then we can talk what ifs.
Yeah. Then if somebody wants to break the deal, if somebody wants to go back on the deal, then we deal with that from that standpoint.
At that moment,
where we have that to go on.
Right.
Where we can say they broke this deal.
They broke this deal. These are going to be the consequences.
At least we've tried.
You know what I mean?
And I thought we were that country anyway. I really did. I thought we were supposed to have been that country this whole time anyway. Aren't we the ones who are supposed to be trying to keep shit stable? That's the impression we keep saying, not just to our own people, but to the rest of the world, is that we're here to help.
But we don't have a history of helping and leaving stuff stable.
No, we really don't.
You know what I mean?
Even when we have a history of helping, because we do help. America has helped.
We have. I believe we have good intentions.
We have good intentions.
We have good intentions.
We have a faulty system in play for making those intentions happen, and people take advantage of it every single time.
They do.
On one side, the other, or both.
They do.
Every single time.
It's sad.
It really is sad.
It's sad.
But it's honestly weirdly uplifting to see Trump just continuously say shit like, I just want everybody to stop killing each other. I just want everybody to stop the shooting.
Whether you like Trump or not, you can't be mad at that.
That's what I mean. You cannot really be against that. And I'm curious to kind of try to watch a little bit of news stuff later, just because I know people are going to be talking about it and to see the spin put on it. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to turn that negative against Trump.
People said that Trump and J.D. Vance planned this out to jump on Zelensky. They
Potentially.
They said that they planned this to jump on him and double team him. That this was planned out from the beginning.
Now, I will say, after seeing all that, to take the last 10 or 15 minutes and pretty much call Zelensky ungrateful and to say that he's using this narrative and all this stuff. Now, I get why they did that. I really do. And I get why Trump allowed it to happen, because that was the point. He wanted everybody to hear and see that shit. That was the whole point of it. He knew what Zelensky was saying off the camera. He knew what he was saying on the camera. He knew there was a gap there, and he knew what he was really trying to say was, I want more support to continue this war, because he wants to win that war.
And essentially,
And
that's
I'm not
what.
saying that's right or wrong,
But essentially, that's what he was saying.
that's what he was saying. He wasn't. He
throughout
said,
the
there
whole
will
conference.
be no ceasefire. There will be no agreement. He's like, I'm just as hopeful as you are that'll happen, but it probably won't.
Right.
And when it probably doesn't, I need to rely on America to be there to back me up.
But when you're dealing
And
with
Trump is just like, well, that's not going to happen. If that happens, we'll deal with that when it happens. But for now, all you need to worry about is trying to set your damn weapons down.
So let's say if you and I were having problems, and I was bad mouthing you and calling you all kind of slurs,
That
right?
just sounds like a Tuesday.
If I was bad mouthing you and calling you a bunch of slurs,
Mm-hmm.
would you come negotiate something with me?
Well, I mean, it's going to be hard to. And honestly, Trump, even, like I said, I hate saying he did shit right. I really do. It irks me. But he even called it on that when they were like, how do you feel like this is going to work when you talk to Putin or whatever? And he was like, look, these people hate each other. He was like, you hear this guy, right? Like, this guy hates Putin. He's like, it's going to be really hard to make a deal with somebody who hates and openly says how much he hates someone like this.
Right.
He was like, and even on the other hand, he's like, I'm not saying Putin's any better. He was like, Putin does not like this man at all, and has said a bunch of stuff too.
He's not
like,
too fond of him
he's
either.
not too fond of him either.
Yeah.
He's like, he's going to be very difficult to make a deal. He's like, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a deal, or we'll deal with it after the fact. That seems like the standpoint, I don't know, in my head, we should have had as America this whole time, is that
Right.
we are the people trying to keep the world from going crazy, because a lot of the world is bombing each other and taking over each other. And if that's the point, is for us to have a peaceful world.
Well, they said
Wow.
too that Trump said this, I'm not for Russia, I'm not for Ukraine. He said I'm in the middle.
Yeah, he
I'm,
said
I'm
he's for
the
everybody.
world.
He's for the world. How do you turn
And
something
he
like that?
he even got mad and told the Zelensky,
Yeah.
President Zelensky, he said he got pretty heated and told him,
did.
he said, you're playing with lives. He said, you are playing with World War III.
Yeah, and potentially he is in the way that if we could get a ceasefire, and we didn't, then we
That's
pretty much
potentially-
made World War III happen for
Right.
no reason at all.
If Ukraine falls to
But if we
Russia,
at least try,
if Ukraine falls to Russia and he continues
Yeah.
to Poland or whatever, that will trigger it.
and I'm sure people
And-
like that one
and-
side is going to say like he's basically backing out of
What-
support for Ukraine.
Well-
He's not going to help them anymore, and he said the whole time he's still supporting them.
Well, what concerns me is Zelensky's kind of like held over President Trump's head. That he's like, well, I've already talked to France.
Yeah,
I already know what Europe's ready to do.
he pretty much said that he already has the full intentions of the EU behind him, and is just waiting on America to say the same.
Because the
none
army
of them
wouldn't-
will matter as much if America isn't involved.
Right, but if it wouldn't be as hard if America was involved. But
Yes.
if America's not involved, then the EU is kind of not ready.
Right. The EU is going to essentially use up all its troops and resources to take on Vladimir Putin.
Which
But
leaves us out of it, but at the same time that drags us into it, because if they do something and he retaliates, then NATO triggers, and we're involved in it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
at that point, we either help or we sit out.
Yeah.
And if we sit out, then we're liable to catch a stray anyways.
Mm-hmm.
We caught a
Yeah.
stray in World War II.
Right. Exactly.
You know
There's a whole conspiracy behind that. Have you heard that?
what?
The conspiracy that Pearl Harbor didn't happen?
How we caught a stray in World War II?
No, the conspiracy that it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, there's a whole conspiracy that Pearl Harbor never happened. And then there's another conspiracy that says that Pearl Harbor did happen, but that it was completely orchestrated by our government, and that it wasn't Japan that did it, and they just did it to incite America to join the war. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it, as far as the plot line goes for a conspiracy?
I was getting
to get
there.
us to get into a war.
I was getting there.
Sounds fucking familiar,
I was
right?
going to say that. I was going to say
So
this.
what
This
building
plot
is
line-
about to fall over in America
Oh,
this year?
whoa.
Let's find out. See what city's about to get wiped off the map in the next 12 months.
Oh, man.
It's ridiculous. If you look at our history, folks, that's what it takes. It takes one of those events, and there's a conspiracy behind every one of them.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be an attack on the EU.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think they're before here, honestly,
I
for
think,
sure.
I
Just
think
because it's easier. It's easy. I mean, regionally speaking, it's
It is.
easier.
it is.
I think it'll be there before it's here.
'Cause
But
we
I don't
got-
think we're out of the dark of it either.
we got
you
the
know?
big, nice ocean.
We got a big fancy ocean. We got this ocean in between us. We don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, Trump. I hate to say it, they were both not wrong, right? Like I don't know if either one was right. I could say Trump was a little bit more neutral than Zelensky was, because Zelensky sounded like
Very much so, because Zelensky wants Putin's head on a pike.
Yeah, he sounded like he wasn't stopping.
He very much
until-
was saying that this war would not be over until Vladimir Putin is no more.
no more.
That was what he was
That's-
literally got to. He was like, as long as this man draws breath, this will continue.
He brought out pictures and showed pictures of people like before and after.
Yeah,
of being
POWs.
detained.
People who were in the prisons over
Um,
there, who were Ukrainian, who finally got out. He said something like they'd released several thousand, but there were thousands and thousands and thousands more who
He
were
was-
still incarcerated.
He was doing a lot.
He was pushing it real hard in a public display to show that they wanted support. But
He was really doing it in a way that undermined President Trump, in my opinion.
it's like I said, I think he was trying to appeal more to the American people than he was the American president at that point, because that was the point of all that. He's talking to America while it's being
Which
publicized.
I don't feel like is the right move when you have a deal on the table that you're getting ready to go have lunch and sign a deal
Right.
over.
You're trying to basically motivate the American people to have a different opinion than the president, which isn't hard to do. I mean, pretty much everybody has a different opinion than the president right now anyway. So you're trying to add to that and egg that on.
I think up until this moment, right? Because
Yeah.
we're like, what does transparency look like? What does transparency look like? I think we
just
saw it.
saw it. We just saw it. They just showed us a whole hour of them talking about this deal that is
They showed
supposed to
us-
be happening.
They showed us true colors.
that this side that we have been supporting is very clearly just saying we don't want this to end. We don't want it to end until
until he's
gone.
That's
That's the
gone,
only
yeah.
way it ends for us, and
That's
because
what-
that's the only way it ends for him.
That's what he
Is
said.
what they think.
That's what he said.
And I mean, like I said, if we can't at least give a one try to some sort of
And
deal,
he kept trying to push stuff into the deal that wasn't in the deal. Like he was talking about
the air
licensing
stuff
for
was crazy.
defense and
Yeah,
stuff.
the gas stuff,
And-
the
well,
LNG
the gas stuff was in,
transmitters
the gas
or whatever.
the gas stuff was in the deal.
Is it the
Yeah,
LNG
that's
transmitters?
that's part of the minerals.
Okay,
So
so they're going to get those while we're getting the minerals.
we're getting gas and mineral deal is what we're
But they
getting.
get the processing plants
But
for it and
they-
stuff.
yeah,
Can make it themselves instead of
right.
relying on other
But
places.
he wanted licensing to defense and,
Yeah.
and all
He
types.
wanted
of,
all of our
he-
aerial defense that we
like-
could possibly
like
let go of. He wanted drone licenses, and he wanted basically all the drone equipment that we had
yeah,
that we could let go of. His requests were pretty wild, honestly.
and well, they almost came off a little bit more like demands.
It almost came off like it was part of the deal. And then that one person asked Trump, during the question round, like, hey, when he said something about all that air shit, is that part of the deal? And Trump immediately was like, no, it's not. Like, it's not in there at all. So he was very much just, it felt like they had this conversation already behind closed doors, and it didn't go the way Zelensky wanted it to go. And then the moment he had a camera on him, he's an actor.
Oh yeah.
So, and I don't mean that in the deep fake way or whatever. I mean, he's a fucking actor. He's
Yeah.
literally an actor. If you
Yeah.
didn't know that, Zelensky was a movie actor, a TV actor or something before he became what he became. Obviously, that's not a big
Trump-
deal because
Trump was
Trump's a
too.
TV show star too. So it was really wild to put that into the perspective of it. Like, wow, World War III is being discussed between this movie star and this fucking TV star.
I mean,
This is crazy.
you're talking about two gentlemen that know how to invoke emotion out of people.
The vice president wrote a fucking book. He's a novel writer about his messed up upbringing. That got turned into a Netflix movie.
I don't feel like the vice president, J.D. Vance, was wrong either.
I don't feel like he was wrong, but what I feel like is that once it got to that point, they should have just said to the press conference. Once J.D. Vance felt like he had to call out
he
Zelensky,
was saying,
I think they could have ended it then. But like I said, the whole point was to show all that. Even Trump even said that. He was like, no, let it go. Keep it running. He's like, I want everybody to hear and see all this.
I feel like street code wise, that was Vice President J.D. Vance was standing up for his homeboy.
Oh, he was totally, yeah. Because he's like, I've been hearing you talk shit to my dog for a day now.
Yeah, you've been talking shit to my homeboy for like 45 minutes in front of
the camera. And now you got in front of the camera and you've been talking shit to everybody who's listening.
For like 45 minutes now. And he's like, I'm pretty quite tired of it.
Like, get my boy's name out your fucking mouth. Yeah, I felt that too.
That's kind of how I felt.
That too.
Like, bro,
which is wild to also put J.D.
him.
Vance into that fucking place. I never would have thought in a million years.
You're not going to keep attacking my guy in front of me like that. You know what I mean? Like,
y'all know I die for this dude, right?
But that's literally kind of what it was.
That's kind of what he was saying. I mean, for real, he was like, "You've been disrespecting my president. You've been saying all this other shit, and now you come out here and you're pandering to the American people. You're pandering to these press people. You're pandering, and none of it is necessary. None of it's wanted, and you need to watch what the fuck you say." That's literally. If he didn't get that impression from J.D. Vance, Trump literally pretty much said that right afterwards. He kept saying, you don't have all the cards. Well, you need to watch your fucking mouth.
That's because Zelensky,
everything we say and do is what matters right now. You don't have a place to say shit.
Trump did kind of pull the Kanye and was like, "You ain't got the answer."
He hit him with the sway. Yeah, you ain't got the answer, sway. He really did.
But Zelensky,
they could have ended it before that, just because I don't feel like that's very presidential behavior. But
he kept trying to tell us scenarios. He was like, "You're going to feel this, and this is what's going to happen, and the influence, and blah blah blah."
Yeah,
and
that was pretty wild. That's when Trump really got pissed off, because he's like, "You're not going to tell me what we're going to feel."
Yeah,
he's like, "You don't fucking get to tell me what we're going to feel.
You don't dictate what happens. You don't
dictate what's happening. You don't dictate anything that's going on right now. You don't have any of the cards. You just need to shut up and do what the hell I say at the moment."
Pretty much.
It's pretty wild. He's like, "We're going to do this deal." He's like, "You're going to sign it. Everybody's going to sign it, and then we'll go after that. But, this is happening, so shut up." That's pretty much what he was saying. But then we know that it ended, and he didn't. He didn't sign the deal.
How do you feel about him getting kicked out the White House?
I don't know. That's a hard way to say it, I feel like. Because like he said, like Trump said
I'll show you the video of, how he left the White House, because I know I didn't show you that part.
Well, was he escorted out like DJ Jazzy Jeff? Was he thrown out the front door?
Kind of.
Really? Was he pushed out? When's it happening? Come on, push him out. Let me see. There it is. Ah, you missed it. There he goes. All the press getting the hell out of the way. Yeah, I don't know. He just got in the car and left. It didn't seem too extra.
No, but how do you feel? Trump said, I'll add this to it. Trump said you can come back when you want peace.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really feel like it was getting kicked out, but it was pretty much saying, I don't need somebody here trying to get money from me for war. Come back when you're ready to talk about peace. And to be honest, I completely agree with that sentiment. Like I said, I feel like that should pretty much have been our policy as a country. We are the peacemaking country. And if you don't want a part of that, then just leave us the fuck alone. Don't try to involve us, because our involvement is going to be, we're going to make peace. We're going to try it with deals. We're going to try it with treaties. We're going to try it with ceasefires. And if none of that shit works, we're going to bomb your ass. Because you know what we've got.
I mean, he didn't necessarily.
You don't have to say it,
but
you don't have to say it. We're America, and every other country knows we got you beaten in the weapons department.
You know the procedure by now.
We know. Yeah, you know the drill. You know how it's going to go. So
drill, baby, drill.
Right, work it. This is the procedure, and it is a good procedure. I feel like to try peace first. for under any administration. I don't care if you're Republican, Democratic. I don't care what you are. You should try peace first.
I get Zelensky's like point of view where he was like, we've tried this 25 times.
Yeah.
But then my perspective on that is like, well, fuck, you've tried it 25 times. Might as well try it one more.
One more might be the
And
one.
if it gets escalated beyond that, it gets escalated beyond that.
Well, you've
know,
tried it
'cause
25 times under different litigations and different
Trump's not the one-
circumstances with different people.
Trump's not the one to cross neither,
He's
because
really
we've
not.
also see that he holds the consequences. If he tells you he's going to do something,
Yeah.
if you cross this line, we see that.
He really does beat it. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to be a wild next few days to kind of see what comes of it, honestly, because, like I said, he did leave without signing it. He didn't sign that he was going to try, which I think that was all he was signing was something saying he was going
It
to
was
try to make a deal. He wasn't actually signing the deal. He was signing something that said he was going to attempt the deal with Vladimir Putin. But he didn't sign it.
And it had minerals involved and all that good stuff.
That was what the deal mostly involved, was our involvement with Ukraine through the
Because-
mineral rights and through the LNG transmitters and the back and forth that we're supposed to be sharing with natural resources and shit. But
I mean, that's part of business.
Yeah.
I agree with that aspect. If we're giving you money to help save your country and you've
Yeah.
got resources that we can use, but you can't repay us the cash, guess what?
you can't repay us the cash. You can't
Trump
mine
said
your
it-
own
Trump said it
resources right
during-
now.
Trump said it during the little conference they had. He said, you got to make sacrifices. There's compromises.
See, the hippie in me just doesn't want the land to be raped over there. That's all that is. If they take everything out of the land, I feel like that's just very...
The land's already screwed by all the bombs they done dropped on it.
I know, but I mean, you make any area of land worse by fracking and drilling, and everybody knows that, and it just sucks that that's what we need for resource development. Really,
Sure.
all just for technology. Like, we use all that shit for technological purposes, and now the AI is
Well,
so
that's what Trump
prevalent,
said that too.
it's becoming more and more necessary to get that stuff. And most of this stuff is classified as rare earth minerals. You look into that. What that means is that these things either do not form naturally, which means that they show up on asteroids or shit like that, or they form over a process taking a millennia, and they take millions of years to form and turn into what they actually are. They have to go through different stages where they are something else first, and then they turn into what we need them to be. Most of these are like that. So on the hippie side of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying? If you gouge all that shit out of the planet, most of it ain't coming back. It's definitely not coming back in your lifetime or your kids' kids and things like that. And it does leave the land sort of drained of nutrients. It does leave the land kind of gone. Most area, that's why people have a problem with it in America, where it has happened. That land is essentially unusable. You can't graze cattle there. You can't grow anything there. You can't put a building there and turn it into a business. That's essentially just unusable land now. So it really kind of destroys the planet. The hippie in me hates it. But I get it on a business model aspect. I really do, especially nation to nation. Like you're saying, we've given you XDX $1 billion in actual cash, plus troops, plus weapons, plus defense, plus everything we could think of at this point. Like, we've given you more than we give our own country
Right.
under any circumstance, more than we give our own citizens for anything.
And other countries got better deals than we got.
And now we want something back for it. I get it. I really do. You
I
can't
can't
pay
argue.
us. You
Can't
can't
argue.
give us money. You don't have it. So
Can't argue with it.
I can't argue with it. I don't like it, but I can't argue with it because it will get our resources. It will get our monetary resources flowing again.
So what you think, man? You think we covered all our topics today?
I think we pretty much hit most of the bases, if not all of them. Yeah.
I mean, I think we got kind of the top 3 stories going in right there.
Yeah. That's all I was hearing about here recently.
I haven't heard much other stuff. I
No.
don't think that this is a very good situation. I do think that this could go a few
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah.
With maybe Zelensky's dropping out of power,
Mm-hmm.
or he's taken out of power, or
Okay.
the whole world gets involved.
Right. Yeah.
Those
yeah.
are kind of the 3 scenarios I see out
I
of
can
this
see any of those
situation.
happening too, honestly.
You know?
Yeah, I see some other things, but I see those pretty specifically too.
I do appreciate the transparency and
I really do too, honestly.
I don't think we went wrong with anything that was done.
Right. I think it could have been a little bit better, like I said, a little bit more mature, especially toward the end, but that's just me thinking that presidents should hold themselves to a higher degree than most people.
Well, if you got somebody coming in and undermining you and your authority.
Well, anything you do as the president is going to be reported anyway.
In front of
you could have cut the cameras at that point and said, you know what, this press conference is over, and that's all it is to it. And then just gone ahead and booted his ass, and the press would have known exactly what happened.
But then that would have left so many answers and so many questions in the press. It
would have left things,
and they would have painted stuff so dramatically differently.
They would have been able to twist it any way they wanted to.
So
and this kind of played out the way it played out. Yeah,
it just happened.
It is the story. It is. You can run it or you can't.
It just brewed over the 45 minutes. I mean, you could see like the tensions just brew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I definitely appreciate, letting it go.
We got a little tease with the Epstein list, too, this week. But it wasn't really enough to even get into, honestly. But I feel like we're going to have to talk about that at a later date when we get some actual information.
Yeah, and Diddy, too. No Diddy.
The Diddy thing, too. It wasn't that much going on. His lawyer dropped out.
But nobody knows why.
It's very unspecified. He pretty much just said, due to attorney-client privilege, he won't be talking about anything whatsoever, but he just could not represent him anymore.
But a lot of people say because a lot of times that only happens when attorneys find out their client actually did something that they can't ethically.
You can't ethically get over it. Yeah, exactly. Like it's proven you did this.
That's the conspiracy.
I can't get over that.
That's the conspiracy.
That is the conspiracy behind it. Yeah, but so far not really. Nothing really. No major development or anything. They said his law team is still got the same tactics going in. The prosecution still has the same. Nothing has changed really because this lawyer dropped out. He has a team of lawyers, obviously, so one leaving is kind of not that big a deal. He was a fairly big name, but wasn't really that big of a change.
His trial starts in May. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, his trial starts in May. So I guess maybe around then we should have a little bit more to talk about. Hopefully. I'd like to know some more about it, but
it'll be interesting to watch.
Right now, we don't have a lot of info on any of it. It's pretty much the same stuff you've already heard over and over again, just kind of coming back to the surface again and again. But nothing new.
Nothing. So
in the Epstein list, you got a few more names, but once again, these are names in one is in a contact book.
I don't know. Alec
and then one
Baldwin.
is in a flight log. So like a lot of people were associated with Jeffrey Epstein who didn't go to this fucking island.
Alec Baldwin's
name popped up.
His name pops up everywhere.
Michael Jackson popped up. Mick Jagger popped up. Who else? There's one or two more fairly well-known names who popped up.
Maybe they flew in to do a concert.
I mean, they could have been associated. Like I said, if they were just in his contacts, the man worked in Hollywood. To say that he knew famous people, of course he fucking knew famous people. But it's nothing really. They didn't even tell us whether the flight logs were specifically to the island
or not.
Not. They just had flight logs.
I think it would just
and
take
Jeffrey
more
Epstein's plane went all over the fucking place. Yeah. It wasn't just an exclusive line that went to a pedo island. It went everywhere. So, it wasn't really a lot of information that was useful. Supposedly today, she said she was giving up more info, but we upon looking, we weren't able to find anything.
There's a whole thing about it. Supposedly they released documentation, and then there was more speculation that one of the FBI officers didn't turn over everything that it had.
Yeah,
so one of the people requested for more information and for an investigation to be done on that.
And I think that had to happen by today.
And then they got to turn that over, and they got to go through and black all of the stuff out that they don't want.
That they don't want everybody to see, because even the stuff they released, a lot of that was redacted.
They released 100 more pages of redacted stuff that's just all blacked out. So we know how this goes.
Yeah, you know the rhetoric.
I mean, people. We haven't even got Kennedy files. We still don't know about Lincoln. We still don't know about MLK. Malcolm
we got
X.
Kennedy files recently, but they're the same way. They're like ultra redacted. You have no new information on them whatsoever. They're just it's 100 280 pages of shit to go through that won't really tell you
Like I
anything
said,
extra.
we don't know about JFK or Lincoln or Malcolm X or MLK. We don't know about any of this stuff. It hasn't been uncovered, and these have been older cases than the Epstein file. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a very long time. Y'all might as well just forget about it and go on with your life, because they're not going to tell you.
I feel like that's the only thing that makes events like that come up again, where they get hit again, is just me forgetting about it. Like, I swear I heard about Epstein today, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was a thing.
That guy.
I forgot about that dude. Yeah.
That guy.
I literally, it's been months. So,
His,
I mean,
his wife is still serving time.
Yeah, and she should. She's probably going to spend the rest of her life in prison.
She's still breathing.
But her prison is like a very Martha Stewart level prison. Like, she's in a minimum security facility where she gets to play tennis and shit like that. Like, she's just in a place she can't leave.
Mm.
I barely classify that as prison.
Well, we don't know what goes on inside the walls, so
It ain't too bad from what all reports have been. It's fairly civil. I know prison's prison, but there are levels to that shit.
So-
if you've never been to prison.
no, I haven't. Before we wrap this up, what you doing next week?
This,
Working.
yeah, same thing I do every week, Pinky.
Try to take over the world.
Work 5 days because I'm a slave, and then do this for a day.
No, this has been fun to do, man. I do like the lives. It gives people a chance to come in, comment, be interactive.
Yeah.
Leave their opinions.
Yeah, a lot of interaction today, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, got a ton of interaction today. We appreciate everybody who interacted and
All of you.
watched.
Thanks.
Everybody watching this on replay. We do go live on Saturdays.
Yeah,
The time kind of varies,
it does.
but we do.
But it is usually it's Saturday.
It's usually Saturdays.
It's usually after 12, and it's usually Saturday.
Yeah. So we'll get better and be a little bit more consistent time wise.
Yeah,
but,
we'll try to pick an actual precise time to start broadcasting. That'll help.
The day is consistent.
The day at least is consistent every
So,
Saturday.
We're getting there. We definitely want to move forward. I was talking earlier about wanting to do live streaming,
Yeah,
like IRL streaming.
yeah.
On the weekends, maybe
Mhm.
like at night,
That'd be
going
cool.
through different districts and just walking down the streets.
Get to see Frank at night.
Frank at night. Oh
Frank
God,
Nights.
that might be what it is.
Frank's
Um,
nights.
But I do enjoy this. I know we want to do skits and write skits, and we
Yeah.
got to learn how to do that. It takes
Yeah,
a
that's all
lot
coming.
of
It takes a lot.
production that
It
goes
really
into
does.
it, a lot of editing, and I got a feeling it's going to take more than one day.
Yeah, if you don't want it to look like the Blair Witch Project when we're done, it's going to take some effort. So just have a little patience. Sorry, we're working on it.
At the same time, I'm tired of like missing weeks and like trying to getting stuck on editing and trying to figure stuff out and not
Yeah.
uploading anything.
Yeah,
I'm at the point where I'm like, I'd rather upload and just keep learning as we go.
yeah.
That way we're consistent.
If we have to take a break at some point to work on that, we'll do what we have to do. But we are trying to at least air something once a week, no matter what. And here lately, that's just been us being able to sit down and throw it on. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have some more time for pre-production in the upcoming future, and we can
Yeah.
get some more shit together for you.
Definitely. So continue support. We appreciate your support. Appreciate everybody who watches this live and everybody on replay. We'll be back next Saturday with Prohibited Perspectives. Y'all be easy and have a great week. Be productive.
Yes, sir.